Hey guys, Andy back here from Mediocre Hobbies, bringing you another video for the new Necromunda Ash Wastes playlist. Today we're going to be focusing on the Orlock miniature on foot. So this video will cover all of the Orlock gang members that you'll be required to get your guys up and running, and this will be the video you will use for all the guys on the back of all the motorcycles and trikes and stuff for this particular gang. As per usual, we use a bunch of contrast to slap down a few quick base coats. We give them all an all over shade and then we layer it up quickly and efficiently, and I think the results speak for themselves. So if you guys want to get your models painted up really quickly, stick around to the end of the video and figure out how we do it. Okay, after constructing the miniature and priming the miniature with grey Seer, it was time to move on to adding colors. So I decided to use contrast Space Wolf's Grey to block in all of his undershirt. I believe it's kind of the clan color of Orlock, is that kind of dark grey blue. So he's got a shirt underneath all that gear. It shows out on his sleeve and his right arm. And then I decided to do his loincloth tabardy bit that goes down the front of him, the same color. When you look at the ones painted up on the website, I can't actually figure out what color the tabard is supposed to be. It's some weird gray or something, but I just thought it would be a really good idea to add that into the spot color of the army. For some reason I was cursed whilst recording this miniature and I ended up having a few bits and pieces out of frame. I did my very best to cut the footage up so you do get to see some painting. I do apologize if there's any bits that you missed from that. I don't know what it was about this specific one. I just, like I said, it seems to be cursed. So we then moved over to Black Templar and we blocked in his basically his waistcoat shirt thing and his pants. It was actually at this stage, after I was finished blocking out these colors, that I noticed the tabard and thought to myself that it should have been that blue color, and since how I still had the blue on the palette, I went over it here now. But yeah, what crazy biker gang wouldn't be set out to war without their leather pants on, leather waistcoat? Whether they're actually leather or not, I don't know, but it makes me happy to think of them as a little biker gang. Went over to Wyldwood contrast now to block in any of the boots and belts and his satchel and all those bits and pieces on the model. It's such a great color for blocking in anything you want to be like leather or straps or pouches later on. Just want to be super careful. It's at this stage of the model, you know, that stage where we all have while painting a miniature where you're not sure whether this is going to work. At this stage, everything just looked kind of awful. It was all real muted tones and I didn't know what I was doing, but I've learned to trust my instinct, trust my gut, and power on with the painting scheme, and it usually works out quite well at the end. So gum and flesh, just for blocking in the colors of his face. I did notice layering up the skin later on that the gloves that he has, well, one glove because one of them is a power fist, is fingerless, so I just touched that up when I was layering it up later on. But if you guys are painting it, maybe you can remember not to do the entire fingertips in brown and go back to the gum and flesh. Time to block in all of the metallics on this model. And these guys are metal workers in the lore and stuff like that, so they do have a lot of metallic bits riveted to their jackets and shoulder pads and big mechanical claw arm. So just be aware of that. You will find more metallic on these guys than you will most other Necromunda gangs. And it's this stage where you need to be a little bit more careful than the other contrast colors, because the silver will of course stain the blue shirt or the black jacket or anything like that quite quickly, and that's something you don't want before we move on to the shading stage. Because after we have blocked in all the metallics, this is the, in my opinion, the base coats of the miniature are all down, and it's time to move over to that nice therapeutic wash stage. Whilst the wash is also drying, that's when I like to move on and do some work on the base of the miniature. I just find it's a good use of time. Like, you're going to be waiting that long for an all over shade to dry, you might as well throw some texture paste on the base or some PVA glue and sand or whatever your preferred basing method is. I find this is the best time to do it, as opposed to waiting until the very end when the model is finished and then you're dying to see what it looks like on a base. Then you have to wait for the whole process to dry and stuff all over again. like I said, we're going to go with an all over Seraphim Sepia wash. This works really well for going over the metallics and the cloth and everything else like that. So yeah, now while that's waiting to dry, we'll do something else. Okay guys, while we wait for the shade to dry, I just want to thank you guys again for the continued support on the Mediocre Hobbies channel. I know I'm blue in the face thanking you guys for this, but it really does mean a lot to me, all you guys who stick around and watch all my videos. I can definitely feel the love and I appreciate it immensely. If you guys want to help me out even further, there's links to things like my Patreon below, or you can become a member of the YouTube family here. All of these benefits give you access to the Discord channel where you can stay in touch with me and meet a really cool group of people who are sharing their hobby, getting involved, supporting each other. It's becoming a really cool space. So thank you guys so much for watching, and let's get back to painting. Okay, while it was drying, obviously I said we would do the base, and this is what I've come up with. It was actually quite an interesting one to try and figure out what the basing is. It's the ash waste, so I went for like a desert and then realized it's more of a grey, and then I was back and forth. But eventually I landed on this and I was quite happy. So first thing we're going to do is start basically the same process as before, but now working on the layer paints. So we're going to use the Fang to layer up any of the parts that you use the that contrast with, the Fang contrast. Sorry, Space Wolf's Grey contrast. Anywhere that you use the Space Wolf's Grey contrast, we're going to layer up with the Fang now. Just being nice and tidy and leaving the sepiaed blue in all the recesses and stuff like that. You just want the kind of big creases and folds of the fabric to receive the Fang, just to make it pop. Like I said, these guys aren't in ceremonial garb. They're not well looked after. They're dirty metal workers that live in the desert. So yeah, it's quite grim. Next thing I'm going to do is move over to the Corvus Black, which is my new kind of go-to for layering black, because it's not just that kind of flat, boring black that Abaddon black is. It's still got a little bit of substance to it, a little bit of shading to it. And once again, just like before, anywhere where you use Black Templar contrast, you're going to layer it up with the Corvus Black. Being careful going around all of the metallic parts, and of course there's a nice blue shirt. Of course, around his nice shoulder pads, his flared shoulder pads. I think he's very proud of those. And this really does add just an extra bit of something nice. Like I said, I don't really like the layering up with a flat black, because I don't really know where to go from there. I'm not going to go in and edge highlight it in 3 different tones of grey. So with this step, I think it does the job of layering up the black. But it looks like quite good. Next, we're going to move over to Rhinox Hide. And just like before, any bits that you did Wyldwood in the basing stage is going to get touched up with Rhinox Hide now. I did realize a little bit later in this paint job, so you will notice a random bit of paint showing up out of nowhere, is that in his right forearm, he's basically got this like armored greave on his on the outside, but there are 2 straps running down the inside. You can see them there in that shot. So I realized this later on, and I quickly went over the straps with a bit of Rhinox Hide. So if you see them magically turn brown in a minute, then you'll know why. I don't know how I missed them in the first place, but it happens. But layering up his satchel bag, all his belts and straps and stuff going around the entire miniature. And of course his boots. And there we have that bit. It's time now to layer up all of those metallic parts on the model. We're just going to go back to our trusty Leadbelcher and touch up all the metallic parts on the miniature, but leaving all that kind of rusty and like oil stained parts in all of the recesses, all the nooks and crannies. He knows how to take care of his equipment, but of course he's still, you know, a desert rat style guy. He's still going to have his equipment degrade and suffer the desert. Touching in on the handle. And it was a lot of fun layering up the big armored powered fist as well. I kind of thought of Orlocks. They weren't really up my alley. They're actually the first Necromunda gang that I bought after the starter set, because they were the first gang that came out after the starter set originally. You can see those brown straps are now done. And And I thought that every gang that came out after them was just a little bit more interesting. They excited me just a little bit more. So I never actually got around to doing them. And now all of a sudden I'm slapping base coats on a new Warlock Gong from the Ash Waste set. And I'm loving them. I think they're really cool. I've been finding that a lot lately. Every time I do a video to help you guys out, a little tutorial video, by the end of it I've got this miniature sitting on my desk that's screaming at me to do a whole gang or a whole army or a whole everything. I'm really liking the results. Let's see if I can resist myself. I think I'll get the nomads done first and then come back and do all of the warlocks. So now we're going to use a bit of Cadian Fleshtone and just layer up that face. You've seen me do faces a million times before. If this is your first time watching a video from me, it's just about leaving the recessed bits a bit darker. So you want to hit all those high points, cheekbones, nose, forehead, chin, all those bits and pieces. And with all those done, this will be your final result and you will have a completed Orlac ganger for your Ash Wastes Necromunda box. And there we have it, one completed Orlac miniature on foot. Thank you guys so much for sticking around to the very end of the video. If you like what you see, make sure you give the video itself a like. If you have any questions about anything I did in this video, make sure you drop it in the comments below and I will get back to each and every one of you. And the algorithm tells me that only about 70% of the people, or only about 30% of the people who watch my videos hit the subscribe button. So that means there's 70% of people out there enjoying my videos who haven't hit that little subscribe button. I don't think you understand how much that would mean to me if you did hit that button and what it would mean for the growth of the channel. So hit that button, make me happy, and I'll see you guys in the next video.